All right, I like that. I'm gonna truck driving. I'm gonna truck or Jeep rather. I should say driving right now. So I'm gonna give like another minute or so to see one, and then also two for Zach to hop on here. I'm on my phone, so I'm having a hard time like figuring out like who's on the phone and who's not. So just bear with me for a second. Cool.
Both are
And my
not
phone's
on
gonna
yet.
die. All right, cool. I may have to see. Let's see what I'm doing here. All right, so I got 5%. Bear with me 1 second. I gotta get a charger. So I'm gonna put it on mute real quick so you don't hear me running through the truck.
Pat, if you're trying to talk to the group, you're still on mute.
So I don't know why that muted me when I turned my phone, but I apologize. All right. So just being mindful of everybody's time because it is Friday and it is late in the afternoon. If we could, anyone, you're more than welcome to volunteer yourself rather than me starting to call people out. And you know I will. Is let us know. Somebody take the floor and let us know what your win of the week was, or even if it was something that turned into a loss. And let's see if collectively as a group we can help you navigate that moving forward in the future. So I'm gonna give everybody a count of 5. There's 1.
I'll go first.
All right, rock and roll, my man.
No, I mean, it's really kind of in my wheelhouse each day, or as much as I possibly can, but it's little things. I'm sitting in my truck parked right by my house here in Northern California. I'm in a park where the trees are blooming green leaves now, where we're happy spring. I'm making my sales calls to realtors in the truck with the AC going, and I've already conquered 2 appointments in the last hour. So these are working realtors. So that's all. It can happen anytime, anywhere. And we lost him again.
All right, Wayne, I appreciate you doing that. Does anybody else on the call want to take the floor really quick and just let us know if you had a win this week or even a situation that popped up that collectively as a group we can help you with or be able to answer anything? And a hush falls over the crowd.
I have a question.
Shoot.
I have an individual who is wanting to do 2 construction loans. He owns the land on both. The first one is a residential. The second one is going to be a commercial building that he is going to occupy with his own business. I'm having trouble finding lenders.
Mm-hmm.
He will be the builder as well.
Okay, so the one property is residential and the other property is commercial, and he's trying to do both loans simultaneously?
Not necessarily. I think if he can get lending, he'll do it separate.
Okay, so let's talk about the residential one first. So why can't he? So why?
I didn't think he.
So why can't he?
I didn't think he could be the builder.
Yeah,
if you're going to be the resident or you're going to be the owner occupier. I never heard of that before.
It's like
yes, and I think that's going to be the issue. I found a lender that I spoke with, but that's the issue with them. So he cannot be the builder.
He also wants to be the builder.
Correct. And with them, he can't
he
even be a builder, whether he's doing his own or not. So there's an issue.
Okay. Does he have a relative, a close family member, or a friend that is a contractor or GC?
That I don't know. I do not know.
I would definitely ask him that, because especially like when it comes to any of the construction loans that I've done, I would tell you that more experience I had has been like the home style and the 203K loans, is just finding like someone who he has a relationship with or someone close to him that has a relationship with a general contractor, because then they can really work out the price aspect of it. And even if he is going to be the builder, it's just all it is he's using somebody else's license and insurance and paying them a small fee in order to operate it so he can get the funds. I mean, that's really common for people to do.
Do you know what lender will do that?
I think it needs to be a general contractor, correct?
If it's residential, depending on the amount of work. I mean, you may even know better than I do, Rob, because like when it comes to like the things were so much easier for like when I was doing like a lot of the home style and the 203Ks, and that's definitely a different playing field than your real construction style loans. So if you have experience with that, I'd encourage you to take the lead on this question.
I don't have a lot of experience with it, but except that I did some training a couple months ago, and that was one of the things that it does need to be a general contractor. Maybe it depends on the state or the lender, but if your buyer has a friend that's an electrical contractor, that's probably not going to work. Just my guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry, I wish you can give you some better information than that. That's just typically like the line of questioning that I would normally go through with someone when it comes to that. And especially if he is a builder and then he has relationships with other contractors, which I'm sure he can work out an arrangement with them for like a small thing that they run the job for him, but he's able to really try and operate the best that he can within the confines of what the lender is going to require.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just keep looking as well. So thanks, Patrick
Cool.
and Rob.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Who else is up on the deck? Because I'm going to start going through and looking at all the people that are on the call right now, because something definitely happened this week that was either a success or something that did not turn out the way you would have liked it.
I joined Loan Factory this week. I guess that's success.
Yeah, it's a success for us too, my man. All right. I'll share something really quick, and this could be just not being as immersed in the loan officer arena as I once was. But I had a borrower ask me for a rate quote this week. And although when it comes to with our LLPA waivers, like our pricing is phenomenal, and even on the other side, it's still phenomenal. What I was actually blown away with is that on a high balance, 5% down first time home buyer purchase, because the income exceeded the income for that area, instead of the rate was literally almost 1% higher because it didn't hit any of those bells with the income. So instead of it being 6.25% on a high balance loan in New Jersey, it was 7.25%. And they also wanted to do an investment 2-family purchase with 25% down, and that rate was 7 3/8. So I mean, I guess I can imagine from the borrower's perspective that she got a rate quote for 7.25% on a primary residence, 5% down, and on an investment property that, like, everybody knows, like, the rates are just like out of control, ridiculous. The rate was literally like an eighth of a point higher with about $8,000 in discount points. So I don't necessarily know if it's a loss just yet. I haven't heard back from her for about 24 hours, but I will say that I was like wildly surprised at how big of a difference that those LPA, how much they actually affect the interest rates. Is everybody muted?
No, that's a pretty wild story. I like that.
And the second homes now are priced the same way. I priced out a second home and it's priced the exact same way as investor because of, they used to have no hits to the rate at all. Now it's the same hits as investor. So like almost better just to go like a DSCR or one of those types of loans where it's less headache.
Yeah. I was thinking about the same thing too. It's just, I was like sending it to her and I didn't realize until after I sent the email. And I was like, oh my God, I just sent her literally a primary residence purchase and an investment property within eighth of each other and $7,000. Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask I'll ask the group collectively really quick is what is everybody's feelings on rates right now? And like, please feel free to share your perspective on it. We all have something to learn from everyone's experiences here, but I'm really interested to see as a group here what we think. Go ahead, Rob. I'll let you rock.
I think they're going to stick around where they are, and they might even tick up a bit because the Fed can't get this inflation under control, and I think he's going to have to keep ticking interest rates up, and the mortgage rates might follow. So. In fact, I just had a conversation with a buyer yesterday. She keeps asking me, what do you think is going to happen? I said, if I knew exactly what was going to happen, I wouldn't be doing this for a living, but I personally think they're going to be sticking around the 6-7% range for the near-term future. That's just my gut feeling.
It takes me back to 2009, like maybe many of you. I've always been a big fan, no matter where rates are. I say people get in your home, quit giving your 100% of your hard-earned money to your landlord. You'll never see a return from it except a roof over your head. However, start building your equity, and then we'll refinance you later when that time comes and it's favorable for you. Get into a home now, though, regardless if it's 9%. It doesn't matter as long as they can afford it. So refinance them later.
You date the rate, you marry the mortgage.
Boom. Like that. Yeah. Just like that.
I like it. All right. So actually, I'm going to bring something up on the call right now. And Anthony, I don't mean to call you out on this, but you had responded to an email. I apologize. I don't remember the gentleman's name that opened up the floor in the email today about it, but you just sat on a webinar and said they had some killer information. I think it was Fairways webinar. Would you mind taking a couple minutes to share everything that was on that webinar that you learned?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of data. It's all data driven of what the Federal Reserve and what they actually think is going to happen in the market. Big thing that he was kind of pitching was that the rates are in such a big gap right now from what the 10-year is to what the mortgage-backed securities are selling for. And the big problem is not too many people are buying the mortgage-backed securities as they used to, because they're really fearing that the rates are going to be coming down in about a year or so, back down to a normal rate, and there's going to be a lot of prepayment. That was one of the best things I heard about it, because that's where you're not making the spreads like we used to on a lot of the loans, is because there's not that much there right now, because a lot of people are scared that it's going to be early payment. So they rather buy just the 10-year. It also touched on a lot of good information about using other people's money, and if you can afford it with the limited supply of homes out there, they still think obviously inflation is going to be going up next couple of years, and there's not that many homes on the market, where there's no better investment that you can make than real estate, especially if you do something like 5% down or 3% down or one of those. You're using other people's money, basically, other people's money by financing that, and doing a calculation of what that actually means 2-3 years from now. Even if the market stays flat or goes up 2-3%, you're still actually benefiting with the whole, obviously, mortgage amount. So, there's no other investment that you can actually get into where you can make that kind of return on it with the money that you're making. So that was a good thing that, I touched on that, which was really interesting. A lot of charts of where the rates were and how they typically, when a recession happens, they kind of go down because they have to start easing. So he thinks, and a lot of the experts think, that they're going to probably start easing next year. They probably have one more in them, and one more hike in them, and then they're going to start, basically, because they're always behind the 8 ball and they're always doing it too late. So they're going to basically kind of obviously go up a little bit, and then they're probably going to go down twice. And most of the people are expecting like 2 rate cuts next year, and the rates to be in like the mid 5s again next year and for the foreseeable future. And how the rates over the last 30-40 years, we're still at a very, very low rate, considering that the market where it is right now is kind of an average state. Because, just with all the COVID and stimulus and everything like that, we're not going to get back to that low. They're never going to, pump the economy that much money anymore. So there's a lot of good information in it.
Nice. Was anybody, before I add one comment to everything that you just said there, and I appreciate you sharing all that with us, is anybody else also on that webinar that potentially that wants to share something that maybe Anthony didn't touch on? I know there was a lot of information on, so to be called out of the blind, and they called on the spot and asked to answer all the information you heard in the webinar, is I appreciate you doing that. But if anybody else was on that webinar yesterday and wants to add anything else that they heard on it, I appreciate that.
I wasn't on the webinar, but to echo what Anthony was saying about people not buying mortgage-backed securities, it's the government that was buying the mortgage-backed securities. And not to get too political, but that's what they did 10, 12 years ago. They printed all the money, they bought mortgage-backed securities so that they could bring, rates down to make them affordable for people. And now all those 10-year securities are coming due, and that's where they kept on talking the last 6 months. They're going to let them, quote, run off the table. And that's another reason why we're seeing interest rates, pop up. And the government can't keep printing money now, because now they're back into a corner because of inflation. So, and I agree with Anthony. I think they're still going to tick up, for the remainder of the year, and maybe next year when we do hit a recession, that's when we'll start ticking down.
I appreciate that. So, Anthony, this is when I make this comment, I'm sure it's probably something that maybe you have or have not thought about, and I'm going to make it to the group, because I've had that conversation quite a bit with people about, hey, well, you remember when interest rates were 12 and 14%, and Generation X, Generation Y, the millennials, they don't even want to hear that, right? Because they don't remember when, right? And although our parents, some of us who are parents today may remember that, what everybody remembers right now is that they opened up a newspaper one day and it said 2.5%. That's what everybody remembers, right? And I appreciate on every single mortgage outlet that's out there, it's like, hey, I remember when, Well, we do remember when, we just don't care, right? So when we're talking to the consumers that are out here today, although I agree wholeheartedly with that, and I'd love to be able to show them that. We see all these old newspaper articles that people are posting in the mortgage coach group. Even Barry Habib ends up bringing them up sometimes during his calls and showing them. It's like, let's just talk about when interest rates were 6, and let's talk about when they were 2.5, and let's talk about when they were 6, because most millennials, Generation Y, they don't believe that we're ever going to see rates that high again. And although their parents may have felt the pain of it, their parents also are feeling the pleasure of buying a house of $40,000 and it being worth $500,000 today for some of them that actually lived in that one home. So, it's just, I look at it whenever someone says that, it's the first thing that comes to my mind. So I apologize. It's definitely not at you, Anthony. It's just the greater majority of like these outlets today, when they say that, the first thing I can think of is a lot of the conversations I have. It's like, hey, remember what rates are? And you're just like, yeah, that must have really sucked for them. And then it's like, but I also remember like what it was like. So my quick 2 cents, which may be worth 1, it could be worth 10, is that I do believe that what's coming to our economy sooner than later is going to cause for interest rates to go down, because we're just not going to be able to sustain when our labor market takes the hit that it eventually is going to. My bigger concern is that our dollar is just is literally treading on a month by month. When that gets positioned to cease to exist is when we're going to be in for some real trouble. But the one thing that I do believe is not going away is that people are going to want to buy 0.5%. We're going to have a huge refinance market.
Yep.
So I think right now it's just all about building your brand. And like I said, that may not be worth anything. It's just my perspective on it. But what I would like to ask the group collectively right now is there anyone that's stuck right now and not marketing as much or doing as much on social media as they would like to? And if not, like share with us why. Anyone?
So this is Ben here. I ran into a dilemma looking at our websites for the corporate websites. Our sitemaps are all screwed up. They're trying to scam URLs in the sitemap. And I went to Google Console and actually had them start doing a crawl on my website, and they immediately aired out and said there's 30 errors on our sitemap. So I got IT and everybody trying to straighten these out. But I'll guarantee you right now, folks, your Facebook money and everything's junk right now, because Google and everybody else looks at there's preliminary factors and websites that need to be in place, and a sitemap tells it exactly that. Just FYI, I wouldn't spend a lot of money on Facebook and stuff till they get those sitemaps straightened out on our website, or don't list your website, go to a landing page or something.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. I didn't use a website for a long time, but was still able to use Facebook and do like social media marketing and stuff like that. And I didn't feel so much of a penalty. When it comes to running anything on the Google advertising platform, you can run into a little bit of trouble because if you're trying to feed into there. So I definitely agree with that. But as far as the social media goes, there's people out there that try to operate without even a landing page and just operate inside of Facebook wholeheartedely, right? Because you could sell products through it directly, you can collect payments through it directly. So in some cases, there isn't the need for the website. But
you're probably better off not to have one on Facebook, because they're going to come to the website and they're going to try to crawl it, and they're going to not see that. They're going to see that spam sitemap and they're going to reject it. Or you're not going to get the Facebook advertisement that you're spending. I've already tried, and I'm having problems, difficulties. I've talked to Thon about it. I've gotten IT and everybody involved, but I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys.
No, it's good. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'll definitely follow up on that for you as well, just because I want to make sure that no one else here is gonna have an issue. Where I'm kind of interested to see is a lot of what Swan does primarily is organic marketing, right? So that's in Facebook groups, that's on his Facebook page, it's on the Loan Factory Facebook page. And a lot of his success from his marketing has come from organic. Swan does not spend tens of thousands of dollars on a monthly basis doing advertising. So I would say, as much as like I agree with that being not very good when it comes to the sitemap and having some issues feeding that into the Google platform or even Webmaster to try and work on some organic SEO stuff, I still wholeheartedly believe that the social media platforms for organic posting is absolutely still viable and a way to actually continue moving. And so like when it comes to it is we'll work on finding out what's causing that. But I do believe just both in experience and what I've seen from other people, including the CEO of the company we work with right now, is that you can still post organically successfully. It's just a matter of like some of us not doing it. And that's where kind of like the root of my question is. But go ahead, Ann. And thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. You're muted, Ann.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. All
Sorry
good.
about that. It's Friday. I can't seem to get my Google business page up. No matter what I took video for them. I convinced them that I'm a small business. They don't believe me.
Really?
Yeah, I went through all of the authentication or whatever proof they need to verify. I even get loan factory help. I just can't get a Google page up and running. I mean, how did
I'm
you
having
guys
the same
do it?
problem. I've literally been waiting forever, and they want me to do another video, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm just
5
checking it.
videos for them.
Yeah, I did that like 2-3 weeks ago, and it's still not
Yeah.
like nothing.
And they want
that's
to
doing
see my business with like a signage, and like I don't have a sign. I work at home. I don't put a sign up anywhere. I mean, and then I went out of the house, and then I took picture, I took videos, and they don't set up the page for me. They don't believe I'm a small business. They want to see signs. They want to see locations, and not sure how you guys set that up. That's amazing. I can do that, so that's why I cannot run any Google ads because I don't have a page.
This is really interesting, and if the both of you don't mind, I'll try and do this over the weekend for you because I believe you. So please know that what I'm about to say isn't that I don't believe you. But the only reason that I added an address to my Google My Business page right now is because it wasn't allowing me to create the right link for Loan Factory to populate the reviews. But for the last year and a half, I had to Google My Business without even an address inside of it. So the two of you don't mind, like I'd like to kind of play with it over the weekend and then let you know what I can see and try and find out for you. But it's actually funny because I had the opposite where I had to use an address. And the reason I had to use an address is so that I can add the link to the Loan Factory platform to show my reviews. But for the longest time now, I've been operating without an address just because it's just, so it's really interesting, but I'm definitely going to look into that and see if I can get that working for the two of you because
Right.
Like a couple of years ago, it was a lot easier. They mailed you a postcard, and then there was a code on there, and you were set. But now I literally played around with it again yesterday, and I'm going to actually do another video and reach out to Google. But yeah, I feel the same.
And five for them, I chose the address, the postcard thing. None of that worked. I'm not feeling very comfortable putting my home address on the Google page, even though that I know that it's a public information. They can look at that, on my license page. But then I don't want people coming to my house looking for a loan or something like that. So that's why I put my address there, and they don't give me the page at all. So I'm not collecting any reviews at all. I don't have a page to host it.
what I might encourage you to do right now, the same thing, Anthony, like the only reason I say this is if you've already had existing Google My Business pages before you came to Loan Factory, then you shouldn't, I'm not surprised that you can't figure it out, but I'm surprised that they're giving you a hard time with it. If you're just setting up your Loan Factory page for the first time, or your Google My Business page for the first time with Loan Factory, then what I would do is use the company's business address for now, let them send the verification to that address. And then once you're up and running, then see if you could just remove the address. Cause that's what I did with the last company I was at. And once I did that, just not to show the address, it was fine. I wasn't asked for any additional verifications. So it could be another way of playing with it. But if I can ask you both this question, just so I know, have you had a Google My Business page set up prior to coming to Loan Factory?
Yeah, but it wasn't for mortgage. It was for another business.
Okay. All right. Do you have any reviews on there already?
No, this was a couple of years ago.
Okay. All right, cool. It's good that I do want to know, because this way, if I go in there and like go and create one, I can get it working. I could just transfer it over to you. I just want to see, I just want to go in there and play with it, and I'll do it over the weekend to see if I can get one set up for the both of you without having to worry about that. But if not, my suggestion is going to be is put in the actual Loan Factory business address, let them send the card to the office there. Someone will be able to give you the verification. And then afterwards, then you can try not using the address, try not using a address. And if not, then you just use the Loan Factory address, but just be very specific. Take the time when it's asked the territories that you lend in, go and put in specifically like your home area, put in all the counties within the state that you work in. Because this way it'll help Google know where to actually populate your information locally. Because if you're not in California, right, you're not worried about people finding you locally in California. Like I'm in New Jersey, right? I'm not worried about people finding me in California, but I do want to make sure in New Jersey, if someone's looking locally, they find me, and that's how we tell Google where we're actually located. So
Yeah, no, I put in all the counties in New Jersey. I mean, I pretty much, I was basically got tired of it and just left it alone, and then went back in there and just was still asking for verification. So
No,
I'll try the main address, because I think there's an easier way to do it. With if corporate does it, switching obviously the address later would probably work.
yeah, that's what I would try and do, that first, get the address in there first, and then afterwards, then you can try and take it out, but at least it'll be up and running. And Anthony, just make sure on yours that you take Essex County out of yours. Only kidding.
I don't even know if I'd even create one. Here's the reason why. You got a lot of gang members and a lot of competition out there, other loan officers. There's some sick people in the world that sit around in their neighborhoods and they see a business. That's all they want to hack it. They want to ruin it. They're jealous of you. There's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't put one up there. I did it years ago on insurance, and I found some bad mistakes. You're putting a beacon out there in your neighborhood, and believe me, there are some sick people around you. You just don't know yet.
That's actually a really, honestly, I'm so borderline. I really want to start doing videos and all this stuff, but I don't want my information out there. But at the same time, you want to be out there. So it's kind of like
yeah, you want the city and the state, but you don't want your actual home address. That's what they make you do. You know, it's like you might as well just put a sign right on the front of your house. Here, come rob me, or whatever. I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Agree. I don't disagree with you, Ben. And it's a matter of it's definitely a matter of perspective when it comes down on that. So I would not encourage anybody to have their address. I wouldn't discourage anybody from having their address. I'd encourage you to do whatever you feel is comfortable for the direction that you want to go in. But I can certainly appreciate and see both sides of the coin. I got 4 kids that live in my house. I don't live in a gated community, and if that's the stance that somebody wants to take, then that's unfortunately the stance somebody wants to take. But ultimately, I want to help as many people out there as I can possibly help. And if that comes at the cost of a couple of people showing up at my house, hopefully not ending fatally, then that's the stance that I'm making today. But it doesn't mean it's the right stance for everybody to take. But if you want to go out there on social media, regardless of having your home address, one of the biggest things to to kind of remove to the best of your ability is that there are more people that are right now waiting to hear your message and what you have to share about the services that you provide, but they're never going to have that opportunity to work with you or hear from you if you don't put it out there. There are far less people that are going to crawl out from under a bridge and start screaming and saying negative things. And I can tell you, I've had thousands of people that are banned from my Facebook page from doing that. It doesn't hurt. Sometimes you want to go back at them, and depending on what the comments are, it's worth a healthy debate. But for the most part, as quickly as they come on, is as quickly as you can ban them, and you'll never see them again, right? But they're out there.
Can I add one thing to that conversation?
Sure.
So one thing that you guys might want to consider is a virtual office. Now, I'm in the state of Florida, and I know that we have virtual offices here, and they're as low as like $79 a month. And what it basically gives you is an address and a way for like mail or something to go there. You don't even have to really maintain it. But if you're concerned about, if you want to establish yourself as a business and you are concerned about having your personal information available for everyone to see, a virtual office could be a great solution. And I think, if it's as cheap as, around the country as it is here, it could be a place that literally you go, you know what, I'm going to send all the junk mail that I don't want to go there. You could have Google to send your confirmation cards there. So it could be something that you could look into in your general areas.
All right.
Great
I
idea.
appreciate it.
That is a link I posted on the chat for everybody. Regus offers virtual office space. I believe it's $49 or something in the Bay Area. It could be different for different states. So just check that out.
The only thing that I ask everybody to do is before you go and do that, just because I don't want to see anyone spend any money yet, is just double check with compliance, because it's one thing, it's to have that address on there, what you got to be careful of. And it's the same thing with me right now in Google My Business. If you were to go to my Google My Business page, you'll see it's to my home address. Is we just got to be careful that it's not simulating the advertisement of a branch or another corporate office for the company. So that's the only thing that I've been thinking about is that could potentially be an issue. So just before anybody spends any money doing something like that, which I think is a phenomenal idea, is just keep in mind that you may want to just run that past compliance first, because if that's showing up on there, we just want to make sure that it's not indicating that the company has another location or another office and you're potentially operating out of it unlicensed. Just something to consider. But I apologize. Go ahead.
I do want to piggyback off what Ricky said. And of course, Patrick, assuming that it is okay with, from a compliance standpoint, I'm a realtor and I do a lot of property management. I have tenants in locations that I carry. Okay, I carry. And for that reason, I'm in a situation where I do not want my personal address out there. There is a print shop about 15 minutes from my house. I have a box, kind of like a PO box that you would have at the UPS, the United States Postal Service. It costs me $15 a month. So assuming that it is okay with compliance, and for those of you that don't want to use your personal address, there are other options than just online options that it's $70 or $80 a month. Because like I said, I'm paying $15 a month at a print shop. Just an FYI.
Yeah, I like that. That was just I was only noting that because I was actually thinking about that the other day. It's just I just want to make sure, because I'm not so much concerned about people coming to my house as much as I am a loan officer saying something and then a regulator, issuing like some type of cease and assist, or me getting a notification from the state, or even a phone call from Swan being like, "Hey man, what are you doing advertising your house with like a location from loan factory?" So that's the only thing. That's the only reason why I want to bring it up. So I'll shoot that email out. Some of the questions that everybody asked today, I'll make sure to follow up on that with the team, so that this way we can get those questions answered. And then Benjamin, obviously what you said about the site map and stuff like that, just to make sure that it's it's top of mind and top priority to get that corrected. All right, I saw something come up in the chat. So if you wouldn't mind, if you typed in the chat and we haven't answered it or brought it up, would you mind just hopping on and answering the questions so this way the group can hear, because I can't see the chat just yet.
So hey, Helen raised her hand.
Yep, go ahead, Helen.
Hello, I'm Helen. I'm from Iowa. So I have the same problem as well since we work outside the California. And then when I'm go to meet my client, and then they kind of they very down about the location. So they want some people stay in the local. For me, so I request Mr. Elisa that so if we cannot rent for the virtual office, so it's possible if we kind of rent for the PO box, and then we put that name on the business card. So that's when we talk with the client, and they know that's all. These are people in local, and then these people have maybe the location or address or something like that. I don't want to expose my information, like Miss Ann say. So don't want the people come and knock on the house and see my family or something like that. So I think that's one of the challenge for the people is kind of doing the loan outside California.
Yeah, like I said, I completely agree with that, and I wouldn't encourage anybody to, take a lackluster or liberal approach to it. At the PO box, again, it could be something that works great. I don't think there's any compliance issues when it comes to that, because the NMLS for the corporate location has a corporate address, and that's where anything will be sent from. And I think that actually works out better when it comes to the Google My Business, if you could set it up that way. So if you give that a shot, and if you can kind of like let us all know how that works out, that'd be great. Does anybody else want to add anything to kind of what we've been talking about thus far, or is there anything else anybody else would like to share as far as a win for the week goes? And I'll just share one other thing, because it just popped in my head when I was doing it. But I wasn't a big advocate about sending rates out to people consistently. But the way that Swan has it set up here with the rate notifications, I can tell you that it has taken a load of weight off my shoulders, not being a fully immersed loan officer. Because what happens is instead of getting these emails and phone calls on a daily basis about where rates are, they're getting fed to them on a daily basis. And I can't even tell you how much time it's saving me with having to answer these emails. So far, at least since I've been adding people to the rate alert, it has made such a big difference in the amount of communications I'm having. And I'm absolutely looking forward to this, like putting more of the responsibility on the consumer to make that decision when they lock in the interest rate, rather than me actually being the person that's monitoring the rates for them. So that's been like kind of like a complete and utter shift to the way that I typically have operated my business. Does anybody else feel the same way? Does anybody else disagree with that? There's no right or wrong answer, but I'd love to hear everybody's perspective on that.
What is the name of that service you mentioned?
That's what we use here.
Oh, the
So-
platform. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. So I talked to, even the one woman that I ended up, where I feel like I may be losing the deal, unfortunately. But I attached her to it. I have another client right now. It's buying an investment property. I attached him to it. I had 2 other people call me earlier this week and said, hey, we'll keep an eye on rates for you while you're getting pre-approved. You'll get the notification in your inbox every single day so you can see where they're going. And once ultimately you find a property, we'll update that. And then depending on where we think interest rates are going to go at that point, then you'll be receiving the alerts on a daily basis. And then when you're ready to lock, we'll get you locked in. It's super simple. But for me, I've never had a tool like that. And when we were using Optimal Blue, when I was a retail lender, they didn't want to hook that service up for the consumer because they didn't want the consumer shopping different loan officers within the company.
Are those rates that are sent out to the consumer, is that including our compensation?
It depends on the way that you set it up, but the way that I go and set the alert up, so I'll go in there, I'll select, let's say borrower paid 1.5%. And then what I've been doing, and if anybody else has been doing this and has a different share on it, I'd be happy to hear it. But what I do is I set it up to 1.5%. And then what I'll do is I'll go down like an eighth or a quarter, and I'll make the goal for the rate alert to be when it hits 0. So that this way, it keeps going out to the borrower on a daily basis. And then once it hits that 0, now that the customer is going to see that they can get the lower rate at no additional cost. Otherwise, they have an opportunity to pay for the higher rate, and then it's showing them the entire rate sheet. So that is, I guess, answering your question from explaining it the way that I'm doing it. It does go out with our compensation built into it. Otherwise, if a customer goes to your website though, Anthony, it's whatever compensation you've set up with your investors on the back end.
So where do we set that up to make sure that, because right now it seems like my rates are super low, but I don't think it's including, I think it's at 0 comp.
Yeah, I would imagine it is if they're looking like they're super low. So what I'll do is after we hop off of this, I'll send you over a Loom. I'll just show you how I set it up.
Okay.
And then this way you can see where it is. Because like I only think we can only do so many investors at one time anyway, which I actually think is a good thing. But I'll show you how to go in there. I'll show you how to set it up. And this way when they go to your website, then they'll be seeing the rates that you want. So
perfect.
Patrick, can you also send that to me? I think my LOA may have set it up already. However, could you send that Loom to me?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm happy to send it out to everybody if you want me to send it out to you. So if it makes it easier, just because everybody may not be familiar, then all right, fair enough. I'll just send it out to it out to everybody.
Add it to the workspace.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What's everybody think about the workspace so far?
I like it.
I like
Alright.
it too.
Is it a little bit easier than going into the Google chats?
Yes.
All right. I thought so too, because we're more accustomed to going into Facebook for stuff like that. And like with Google, as nice as it is, it's attached to our Gmail. But if we use any other mailing platform like Outlook or anything else that's out there, we don't have the chat inside of it. So we're forced to use like 2 email applications on our phone. So
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to is I understand it's have the capability of doing like separate threads or channels.
yeah, for sure.
If we can break it down by products or lenders and stuff, I think that'd be a great resource to build, now and into the future.
Okay. So, Ann, what we're using for our CRM is we're using Moso. If you're not familiar where you can go in there and build out email templates or set up campaigns and stuff like that, what I can do is I can ask the team to do a training on that. Because we do have a CRM built into our system. So if you have prospective buyers that come in, or let's say you have a database and you want to add it to them and you want to start dripping them, then I'll absolutely ask the team to have a training put together specifically for that aspect of the platform.
Yeah, I would
Well,
appreciate
I've
that.
been using Boso as well, but just I know that a few loan officers have their own CRM system and that they don't want to change that. And I'm just wondering, like, besides Boso, what else do you use for CRM? Like some use Monday.com and some use Salesforce. I'm just wondering on top of my mind.
So I was on Salesforce for a long time, to the point where like I actually got trained as a developer, just because there's so many things that you can actually end up doing in it. And I think iJungo is the mortgage application that everybody uses today, which is like if Salesforce was an iPhone, then iJungo is an app you can get on your iPhone, but it only worked on like the iPhone platform, and that's what everybody used. Mike Gulitz is a great guy. He built out a pretty good platform, but it was built first for realtors and then adopted to mortgage originators. And Salesforce is like, it's not so much that it's expensive. It's $1,600 a year, but it's an annual contract. And if you want any customizations done, they have like a ridiculous like editing charge where it's like first 15 minutes is like $250, and like and then the next 45 minutes is like it's like ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I would probably say for the most part is that if you don't need to go to another CRM, I would get trained on Moso. If it's about wanting to protect your database, and that's the reason you're thinking of it. The only reason I'm gonna just put this out there, I'm not assuming that's the reason for it, but I was here about a year and a half ago before Thwam was ready to move over to a loan officer platform, which we've done, and you're obviously aware because you're here right now about that. And since it wasn't a good time for us, I had moved my database in. I called, asked, said, hey, listen, I love you. I can't wait to work with you in the future once you go to a more loan officer centric platform. I just want to make sure I can take my contacts with me. At a click of a button, I have my entire database, no questions asked. So from a protective.
And also, except for their mobile experience, is not ideal for me.
Okay.
Mobile, I really need the mobile stuff to work. And I've been using Monday.com. I like it, but the mobile experience is not there. And then I'm not always at the computer. I really need the mobile to work. So that's why I'm looking for something that can, it works on both mobile and PC.
Okay. So one thing is that, and Ben, also to answer your question too, is that Moso Plus will probably be available within the next 12 months. And I think consecutively running at the same time or in parallel to that is also the mobile app. And that's something that those are two aspects where, I mean, Moso, like, remember the software that we're operating right now, Thwam was so far ahead of the curve that started building this 7-8 years ago. And now they're working in parallel right now to our system and building out Moso Plus, which is going to be lighter, faster, have a better consumer interface, a better user interface. But he's also doing the application too, because he knows the benefits as far as like being able to communication with consumers, and everything really today is based off the mobile experience anyway. What I would say to you is before you start investing in another CRM, I would just go get to your cell phone carrier and get an iPad mini and use the iPad mini to use Moso, because it's also going to then be able to house the application once the application's available too for the consumer side of it. And it'll probably save you more money than it would subscribing to a CRM for the next 12 months.
Thank you.
So just food for thought. It may not be the perfect answer, the answer that you want to hear, but I'm an advocate of the software, so it's very hard for me to tell you like here's another software to go out and use. I think for the most part is that if we set up a training to see how you can use Moso, it's going to help you with everything that you're looking to do. And I think Thwam is also turned on or is turning on the subscriber feature, which is something that I'm a big advocate of, because now you're going to be able to go out to all your real estate agents, get them put on the interest rate distribution for it. And then also too, Thwam has been toying around with the idea, which if everybody here just emails and say, hey, I want on that, the same marketing that the company is sending out to its database and its referral partners, I'm sure he'll be open to attaching or putting those same emails in everybody else's account that are going to be specific to you and your name going out to your database. So remember, our ultimate goal here is to make everything as easy for you as possible and help you generate as much business as possible without being involved in 16, 17 different softwares and platforms. And so the more you bring to our attention, the better we're going to be able to make it for you. So I appreciate that feedback and you sharing with us, Sam.
Yeah, I posted a video on the LO's group, Patrick. That was freaking fantastic this week. Trust me, that he's an LO somewhere here. And just check out that video, right? I just posted it on the Google chat, right? He is using Bonzo. And just check out how he's using the campaigns to attract realtors and talk to them, right? If we can get something like that, check out Bonzo as well. I'm happy to share my account, if you wanted to take a look, but it doesn't have any customization whatsoever. But this guy has done super awesome customization, right? I posted the entire recording of his presentation for all the Bonzo members. Those are the features that we should be using and customizing it, just like how Go High Level is, right? Bonzo is exclusively for mortgage loan originators. Absolutely fantastic idea. I love it. I wanted to do exactly the same thing that guy has.
Okay. So I'm actually curious to see what it looks like because I've been on BombBomb forever and I've been on Go High Level for, I want to say, they've been taking my money for about 6 years. So I've been on both of those platforms. I really like BombBomb and I really like Loom when it comes to the video aspect of it. But Parry, I'll definitely check that out to see what they're doing on there. And then also, if you wouldn't mind, could you please send that to Thwan?
Yeah, okay.
Because I and the team have been talking for the last couple months about making sure that, like, from a video email marketing perspective, that we're able to deliver the video in a light campaign or a light email, where it's got like the GIF inside of it. It opens up because that's what BombBomb and most of these things do, right? They will play on the Google platform because the Google platform allows you to embed the video without it slowing down the email being opened up or cause for any reason for bad deliverability. That's what we're trying to work out in Moso as of right now. But if that's the way you feel about it, and again, for everybody else that's here too, I encourage you, anything that you would like to see, there's very little that Moso can't do, just specifically because we're the innovators of the software, right? We're not asking anybody else to let us do stuff on it. We can go in there and basically create anything we want. So
Anthony, are you the lead on the Facebook Workplace?
I don't. I mean,
You kind of
like
have
a sign, or I didn't really get like anything really to do. So I definitely would like to get the groups going and everything like that. But I just kind of haven't heard back from Thwan. I think he made the list of groups that he wanted and tagged someone else. So I kind of not sure.
Okay, because I was going to say we should have a Moso training group on that Facebook Workplace, so Patrick has a place to put it.
cool.
Yeah.
I like that too. And Anthony, I think, for the most part, Anthony, like you were one of the few people in the group that wanted to take the lead on that. So I'm actually going to say, if you wouldn't mind adding that to the sheet and then just making a follow up with Thwan just about about when we can start creating the groups inside of it. Just so that this way we don't throw too many hands in the soup.
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right.
But I'm looking forward to that too. I think it's going to make it easier. So without further ado, because it is Friday and I appreciate you all staying on the call with me. I hope there was something everybody gained from being here today. You spent a full hour with me, so God bless you. And if there's anything else post this call, maybe you didn't want to bring up inside the group, you have any questions, you have any complaints, any suggestions, and you don't want to send it to the powers that be, please always feel free to send them directly to me. If you want me to keep it anonymous and just bring it up to Thwan, I'm happy to do that too. But ultimately, whether you believe it or not, I care about your success here. And I would like to see each and every one of you do well. So if there's anything that I can do to help, please do not hesitate to let me know.
Thank
All
you.
right, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend. You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.